Hello, everyone. Thank you all for joining us. We're going to start the second Meet the Expert session with Dr. Yali Zhao, who will be talking to us about her presentation on virtual exchange. And if you were here for the earlier session, you know that this is an informal conversation. And Dr. Zhao, feel free to show your slides or just engage with the audience and begin the conversation. I'll leave it to you.
Okay, thank you so much, Diana, for the introduction. And yes, welcome to my session. And I'm glad we still have a lot of people here. And yes, I'd be glad to share my experience and any suggestions I can give you. And also, I wish that you have watched my PowerPoint already, and I mean my video already. So
maybe we can start with a show of hands. Who had the chance to watch the presentation already? If you don't mind just raising your hand if you've already seen the presentation.
Okay, we have 9 people here, right? So what do you want me to do? So anyone, if you would like to ask questions or if you want me to share again?
You know what, Yali, maybe you can just start with just the basic, the intro slides, and then we'll see if we can get some conversation going. We see Mary Martinez says, share again. So you can.
Okay, so yes, I think that's a good idea. While I'm sharing, so people can actually, if you have any questions, I can pause and try to answer your questions, right? Okay, I'm going to share. So can you see my screen here? I need to go to the beginning. I'm sorry.
Yep, we can see it. Looks great.
Sorry, I don't know why it's the last page. Okay, so as I introduced already in my video, if you watch that, yes, I'm associate professor in the College of Education and Human Development at Georgia State University. So I'm very glad to have this opportunity to share with you about my virtual exchange experience. So I have been implementing virtual exchange for over 10 years. So, I mean, first, I didn't know it's the virtual exchange, different terms. So I just did online discussions and in my different courses with some other professors here and also in China, because my own background, I was born and grew up in China. I was a professor in China, but I came to US for my PhD about 21 years ago. So I've been teaching at Georgia State for a long time already. So it might be, and also at the same time, in the past 2 years, I've been serving as the mentor, the facilitator of Georgia State's faculty teaching and learning community on virtual exchange. And I have been helping with the other professors in implementing virtual exchange in the different courses. So that is why it's kind of, I really feel it's a great opportunity to share with the others. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask. So I'm not going to kind of cover here. So while I'm sharing about some other things, if you have any questions, you can just stop me, right? So the virtual exchange basically is it's different from the online course or something. It's actually like more communication across different culture, and there are different terms to describe it. So oftentimes the other people prefer to use collaborative online international learning or the telecommunication or the global teams, right? Or online intercultural exchange or the e-tandem kind of, it's just kind of online, but cross-cultural communications in different courses in different subjects. So people are collaborating and students collaborating, right, from different cultures in the different disciplines. There's a lot of interactions between students in the different countries, and often we use the same language, but also we try to learn more while sharing with each other. So the virtual exchange is not, right, it's different from the general online teaching. It's not teleconferencing, it's not simple distance learning, or just using some platforms to do the online teaching, or it's a social media groups. So virtual exchange is actually more meaningful, and it's more purposeful. So you have objectives, and you really have something in mind. You want to collaborate, and so the different sides in the different countries, right? Students, faculty, they actually can collaborate and learn from each other. So for students, as you can imagine, right, in the past year, due to the pandemic, so all our study abroad program internationally, you can see, right, all canceled, right? I have been serving as the study abroad program in our college department, the director of study abroad program for over 15 years. So we also canceled all our programs. So I think it's really important. We're not stopping, the international learning and develop students' global competencies. This actually becoming more important nowadays. So virtual exchange actually is really a great way to still reach out and to develop students' global mindset and cross-cultural awareness. So with the travel restriction, right, it's really, and also compared with study abroad programs, so it's really in terms of financial help, it's so much more affordable. So it's basically free, right? You don't have to spend money on it, and also it's time efficient. So with the Zoom, with so many technology resources now, it's so easy to communicate. So you don't have to study abroad program. You actually have to go there and make preparations, and also it takes a lot of time, right? Whether it's a few weeks or maybe a month or even a semester or something, right? So, and also with family, with some other issues, a lot of students cannot afford it. And also we found, right, according to research and also my own experience, so actually it provides equity and inclusion for all the students, right? So a lot of it, because of a lot of restriction, a lot of students cannot afford the study abroad programs. But for this one, they actually can stay home, and also they could experience this kind of international communication with people, with peers around the world. And definitely similar to the study abroad program, except it's more physically, right? So virtually here, we do a lot of activities. So the virtual exchange actually really kind of help improve global competency and also engagement if you design well and it's purposefully designed. And also, of course, right, we're using a lot of all kinds of technology that helps promote digital literacy. So that is also the 21st century. Of course, right, it also helps promote culture appreciation and understanding. So while our students are collaborating or communicating with students around the world, they actually develop more culture awareness, and they become more sensitive and more appreciative of the different culture and people around the world. And also it helps develop professional skills, right? That's the important skills we have to kind of in workplace and in many ways. And also, of course, facilitates in the culture, collaboration, and communication. It is very important. So as you can see, right, there are a lot of benefits from students, right? Students, basically from my past 10 years of experience, students are very positive about their virtual exchange, right? So we're talking about a lot of topics and sharing a lot of ideas and good practices in many ways. So students are really appreciative of what we have been interacting and discussions and different ideas. And so that's very helpful. And here, more specifically, right, some benefits of virtual exchange, right, for us as faculty. So it really kind of offers us economic way to bring the content and practicing experts, right? So before, so you have to invite somebody physically to join, but now with the Zoom, the WebEx, and the other technology platform, it's actually like more convenient to invite experts. And also you can include a lot of contents that really helps students develop the global mindset. And also you can build research and teaching networks through this virtual exchange with different international institutions. So a lot of people actually with the pandemic and also with the better use of technology, a lot of people actually are willing to have this global communications. So it's really good opportunity for us. So if we look at positively, and also definitely right now, if we're working at university or K12, so there's increasing kind of requirements, we should, or we need to globalize our curriculum, right? Internationalize our curriculum. So our students can be more better prepared to be more successful citizens, right, in this increasingly diverse and globally connected world. So there are many ways you can do, right? So oftentimes, not only me, but also the other professors are been working together. So you can you can have the virtual exchange embedded in your course, right? So oftentimes you have 2 or 3 educators from the different countries. And so you add this element, right, to the to your courses. So it can be, as I mentioned earlier, it can be any subject. So we have a lot of professors and teachers as well. So it's in science, it's in social studies, language arts, world language, and science. And this professor actually, he's working with professors in Hong Kong and also in Xi'an in geography, right, about the climate and in different regions and different parts of the world. So a lot of it is a huge, large class, right? More than 300 students participated, right? From GSU here, and also we have many from the other regions. So it can be any discipline, right? So people, students, they share learning outcomes with activities. So it can be a single part. You can have one kind of format in your course. You can have multiple projects. So it can be part of your course. It can be also like fully integrated into your course. You could have small projects and you can have a semester-long projects. So some examples, right? So we can, my experience and also the others is I have done all this, right? Like peer reviewing. So the students, they can actually read some papers, they wrote something, right? So they share their papers and they write about the reviews and comment on the papers. And also they read some books. So students from here and also from China or from South Korea. So they read similar books and like a kind of book clubs. So they will, we will have the discussion board and we are sharing about our reflections about the books. And also the students also using some platforms I will introduce later, they actually collaborate on books, creating some children's books. So there are a lot of collaborative learning, and also they can, some professors also do the service learning, right? So they are doing projects. So people are doing this in different countries. I have done a lot of online discussions about many educational and cultural topics and project-based learning as well. So these are some common technology modules people are using nowadays. I'm sure you know a lot as well. So I've been using iCollege a lot of times, and also Zoom and EduBlocks. WeChat is the most popular in China. I have been using this one. The WebEx, similar to Zoom, I have been using this. And also I use the Infogram, especially the Flipgrid I've been using in the past 2 semesters. So students are sharing their videos, they did some presentations and then they videotape and then they post on the Flipgrid. And then I divide them into groups, right? So GSU students here, so they posting things, and also the Chinese students, South Korean students also, they post, like we have two big projects, the educational issues, and also global and comparative education culture. So students are sharing their projects, and then they view it and comment on each other. So these are some common platforms we can use for different courses and subjects. So how we define the best practices, I'm going to have the examples later on, right? So definitely, if you can build strong relationships with your partners, international partners, that really help you have more successful experience. And also it's better to align the activities with the learning objectives. It is not just random something, right? Something you think, okay, we just do something, but actually, if you have something in mind, if you can match the activities with clear learning goals and objectives, it really kind of will work much better. And definitely, and always, you need to be more intentional, right? You want to use these projects, use the virtual exchange, right, to help develop the intercultural communication and cross-cultural skills, right? So the students actually benefit, and they feel more motivated to want to know more about the world, and also they want to communicate with people who are different from them, right? Who have never communicated before. So make it intentionally and purposeful. And also always with so students can also reflect about their experience, right? Contextualize and also apply what is learned from their communications, from the learning. That would be very helpful. It's not just words, actually. It's better come with the actions. And also we need to think, okay, how we can actually assess their learning, right? So you don't have to be formal, but some reflections and some activities will help. And the students will be more actively participate if you have some assessment, some expectations, right? And it's better to be, to be more personal when you design the activities. So sustained and structured communication will help a lot. So for us as professors, as faculty, as teachers, so we need to serve. We cannot just have the student do whatever they want. We still need to moderate, right? Serve as the facilitator and to help to guide them in order to make the learning more successful. Okay, so I'm not going to emphasize this because I do want to emphasize some examples, right? So it need to be sustained, and technology, the students actually know better about the new technology, right? So you don't have to make, right, because we have the different time, the different time difference, right? And also different courses. So I have more synchronous meetings, right? So I still have the deadline, but students actually, they prefer also this. It's hard to do the synchronous. And people, so make sure, right, we do have the people-to-people interactions and dialogues. And the students need to have the students, right, to be the leaders, right, to facilitate, right? So students will be the main drives, and it's student-oriented activities. So my experience, as I mentioned a little bit, so I have been doing a lot of online discussions. We talked about different topics in education, in my social studies courses, in my culture foundation classes, and also in my perspective classes, right? So we have been doing a lot of global comparative education and culture issues. So I have been using the GSU, iCollege, Flipgrid, the WeChat, Skype, Zoom, EduBlogs, and also I have students analyze case studies. So the case studies from different countries, right? So they are reading it and analyze and reflect about it. So what are the similarities and differences across the culture? So we have cases from the different countries. So using this kind of website, our students are actually collaborating with international students. So they are collaborating and creating multicultural children's books. The good thing about this website is you don't have to, there are some illustrations, There are some images, so you can write stories based on the images, make it a whole story. And also you can write your story first and try to find some pictures to match it. Oh, I should have placed this earlier. So set clear goals, expectations, right? And also teacher's role should be important. So always give timely feedback and try to track student participation and provide some thought-provoking questions. I did that, and sometimes I have students ask some questions. And also, so offer discussion, small group activities, right? So the group leaders in the small group and the group leader will help facilitate activities, right? And always deadline. So these are some examples, like recently for my, currently actually this semester. So I have two big projects. So I have the international students involved. The first one is the contemporary issues in American education. So like China, the Chinese students, the pre-service teachers, so they will do contemporary issues in Chinese education. And South Korean, so they will do contemporary issues in Korean education. So I have the questions here and the students post their videos, right? It's kind of, they made a video or the PowerPoint, but they actually record it while they talk over it with the image, with the issues, the numbers, statistics, a lot. The right side is the Global Comparative Education Culture Project. Students have to read about 5 or 6 books. I'm going to show this. So these are the books. I have students, right? They read these books, very interesting books, right? And also all of them are bilingual books. I see the Sun series books, right? It's very interesting. And all from the perspective of children's perspective, girls especially. So I have them read this book. They can choose which country they want to focus on. So the other country, they also buy these books. It's very interesting, but actually, I mean, I thought it would be very challenging, but actually they try their ways and they get the books as well in China and also in other places. So, so students will read these books from this, and also including Africa is not a country. So they are going to read these books and they're also going to do more research, and then they're going to compare about the culture and education across these different countries. And then they present and share with here, GSU students and also international students. Like here, you can see here, right? So the video sharing. So they have their PowerPoints, they have their videos, and they have the comments, right? The Chinese students and also our American students here. So very interesting dialogues. And so that's, I forgot, actually I could show you more. So there's another kind of is online group discussions using the WeChat and iCollege as well. So I have some questions, students are kind of, they are actually making a dialogue. They're addressing about how history, social studies, education is taught, what some practices, and also about citizenship education. And they really kind of have in-depth discussions. Sometimes they say, okay, so this, it seems like a patriotism or collectivism is really kind of emphasized in the Asian culture, while here we emphasize. So students, by talking with each other, our students here really get it, exactly what that means. They heard a lot, but until the students actually share some examples, they realize, okay, now I see, what do you mean?
Dr. Zhao?
Yes.
We do have a question in the chat. Do you mind if
I'm
I
sorry,
read
I
it?
need to get the chat here. I'm sorry, I didn't look at that. Okay, yes.
Our guest asks, do you have any recommendations for convincing schools to engage in this type of learning? In my recent experience, it has been challenging to get secondary schools to see the value in integrating service and project-based learning, even virtual exchange.
Okay, that's a good question. So maybe at middle, secondary school, high school, they think more about, I think because the high school students, right, they are thinking a lot about service, right? They have to have some service hours. And if the virtual exchange actually can be a kind of service as well. So they can maybe a tutoring kind of, or sharing the culture or something. I think like my son, he has been doing the robotics. So they are all this kind of different activities. So when you're sharing this activities you're doing, and also they're sharing something. So I think if they can see some benefits, and also when the students can actually see students in other countries at their age, the students will be more motivated. And I think the teacher, and a lot of, I know, even though with the intense relationship running, because my background in China, I was born there and grew up there, although I've been here for a long time. But I know because our study abroad program, we have been going to China every April. They are so eager to collaborate with our teachers here because they learn English is mandatory. So they're eager to share what they have, but also they want to learn about US education and culture, and especially the secondary students, right? They are really eager to kind of talk with our students here. And some service learning projects like recycling, you can see like how our students doing here and also what they are doing there. So if they can share some videos, they even can do some common projects. I think that would be very helpful. The teacher and students need to see some benefits. If they can see each other, like on the screen or something, I think they may be more motivated. So I connected some teachers and students before. And even for my current course, they didn't see the benefits before, but now they say, oh, wow, because of the discussion, because of our kind of sometimes the different perspective, they really think it's more interesting. So I can help maybe if you do have, because I know a lot of schools in China, good schools, and I know them so well. They are so willing to, I mean, they are very open-minded, and we kind of, in our discussions, we talk about what is the goal of the education. So what are some qualities of good teachers? And actually our students really, they're very excited to find we have so many things common. We want to be, we all take care about the students. We want the students, I mean, to realize their dreams, to be a good person, to be a respectful person, to be open-minded, to learn about differences and to learn about different cultures. So until the students are willing to communicate and they realize we're so different, there are so many things that we can learn from each other. I think otherwise the world will be continue to be confused. So that is my kind of, I always feel people need to kind of talk to each other, communicate to each other, and try to understand we have so many things we all want to, for the best, for the world. So I can definitely help with that. I have been doing this for a long time, try to even set some collaborative schools and like the partnerships. And so that is why I think if you, maybe for the follow-up, I can do something else if you are willing.
And if you don't mind, Dr. Zhao, I'd just like to mention too that the Atlanta Global Studies Center is working with the City of Atlanta Mayor's Office of International Affairs. Mm-hmm. And we have, Atlanta has many sister cities throughout the world, and they are interested in helping K12 teachers get paired up with some of our sister city teachers. And, you know, we tried to sort of launch that program last summer, but with the beginning of the pandemic, it was just, there was too much going on. But we will be reaching out again to see if we have teachers interested in partnering up again this summer.
Right, this will be wonderful. We could also have some summer sessions, so we can communicate more. Like if you just look at this, like we check the dialogues here, you can see, so when so many people these are two classes, right? So you can see the students when they are interacting very actively, they are talking many issues, right? And it's really very exciting learning experience for us all. I have actually a lot of data I shared with my faculty. So this is a kind of dialogue, right? Because I'm bilingual at least, right? So we have the Chinese students, and sometimes I have I'm also in the group of the Chinese college students group. If they do have some other questions, I will talk communicate in Chinese, but also the WeChat, and with the technology nowadays, the Google Translate, and there are so many ways you can translate immediately, and that really makes the communication, right, much easier and convenient, right? So you can see here, I have the Chinese communication, and our students, right, they can translate immediately, and they have really we have a lot of joy there. They're responding to each other. And also we are sharing our class activities. So the Chinese college student, they are the top teachers university in China, several. And our students, so we're doing presentations. Even before the pandemic, I was doing this, right? So sometimes we actually have the students on the video, and we with the time difference, but we tried several times. So our students presenting, and our students sometimes when we are doing activities, because students really like this opportunity, they are sending the videos and images to the WeChat groups. So the Chinese students can see that, and they will respond immediately. And sometimes you can see, right, the Chinese students they're doing the teaching or something, and they send to us as well. So this is the website I mentioned about creating the books. So I'm going to show you some examples here. So this is a great website, as I mentioned, so international collaborative writing, right? So this is really a good practice. So our students here, you can see, right, the images, right, actually from the website. So they wrote their story and try to find the images to match their stories, right? So how they affect, because our students, they also have different kind of cultural backgrounds. So they choose to do different topics, right, and collaborate in different ways. So this is about immigration. So they have their stories, and then very touching stories. Actually, it's like 14, 15 pages long. So this is one kind. And sorry, I should have showed more. So this is another way. I use Agile blogs a lot. So students also, we have the weekly discussions, and students also, I have look at the right side, I have all my class, I have the blog rows, right? So all the students are linked here. They have their own page. So they are doing some writing on a weekly basis. And also we have our collective questions and discussions, and also students, right, talk about the social studies educations around the world. They are watching the videos, they have some topics for the discussion. So I tried different ways, but anyway, I want to emphasize some strategies, some suggestions, right? Finding the partners, as Diana just mentioned, we have the Global Atlanta Study Centers, right? So there are a lot of opportunities. You can be connected with international schools, right? I think that's really good. And also I have some other websites. It can also help you to find partners. So if you go to a conference or international conference, and if you meet someone there, right? So, and sometimes like Singapore and also South Korea, I actually went to the website. Oftentimes there is the English versions as well. So, and at a conference, people who collaborate in research, and you can also have somebody else to introduce you to the partners. So many people are willing to try and to collaborate. So, but also I learned something else, right? Different countries with different policies. So it's better to get permission, right? Get approval from domestic here and also international institutions if you do the virtual exchange, right? Because sometimes they really want to know what is the purpose of the activity, what is content, right? They want to make sure it is something they feel comfortable, right? They feel appropriate. And also so get permission so they can have more volunteers to participate, or just required as the course, right? So if you have a better relationship, if they know your purpose well. And of course, right, it should be purposely designed. So it should meet your course objectives, try to fit the schedule, right? In different countries, so the calendar can be different, right? Like in Asians, right? The winter holiday is different, the spring semester is different, but oftentimes the fall is very similar. So something else, and you can always negotiate, right? So try to collaborate about what kind of projects both are interested and students are interested. So what kind of questions you can ask that all feel safe and comfortable. So if there is any, because there are so many technology, but may not be available in other countries, in some countries, right? So always you have to negotiate. So what are some better platforms so that can be used? For instance, right in China, so the YouTube and the Facebook and the WeChat, not WeChat, WhatsApp, and even the GSU, our college, the iCollege is not accessible. So we have to find some other way. The Agile blocks they can access, and Flipgrid they can access. So we try to use the common platforms so all the people can get access and can share. And also confidentiality, right? So you have to, they're concerned, like even here, students confidentiality, right? Their identifications, right? So you want to make sure maybe students don't want to be identified. So if you're talking about something, they say, okay, I don't want to, otherwise I feel like I don't feel confident enough to share some maybe controversial topics or ideas or something. So we always try to accommodate. They can have a kind of ID, or we create, for instance, for my Flipgrid, I just create new names or something, right? Give their numbers, ID, a new kind of, I think that helps. And also the timing, as I mentioned already, in different countries, in different parts of the world, right? So we have to learn about, so when can we have it and how long the project can be and how many projects, how many virtual exchange we can do, right? So based on the differences, the calendars, the holidays, and time, how much time you have to kind of work on it, right? So oftentimes we have the postings, and also you have to respond, how many you have to respond, what is deadline, how often you need to be responsive as faculty, of course, right? In order to get students always more involved, I'm constantly kind of responding in comments, right? To encourage students. And also you want to make sure, right, whether the students have been participating, how often, so track participation is very important, and always set some deadlines. So yeah, sometimes you have to extend a little bit because I mean, different situations, but always deadlines will help. The culture, language issues. So because I mean, we talk a lot of different topics, but always students actually willing to share. For instance, right, in China, this time, that is the professor told me this time, right? So our students here, we're willing to talk about American education issues. We have been reading, we have been talking about this. So we talk a lot of like online discussions recently, the virtual learning, and also the poverty issues, and also the police brutality and the students racism, and students want to explore a lot of educational issues, and they think it's very important. So when I was sharing with the Chinese professor, students, no, I don't think we need to be critical of something. We never did this. You always say good things about. But the professor said, okay, look at the Chinese, the American students, right? So being critical actually help you improve, right? It's not losing your face. It is find out problems and try to work together to solve the problems. And then the students, oh, that makes sense. And then, so I could share that. And students, they said, this is the first time they actually spend time doing research and share the issues, the problems in Chinese education. And they're learning, they're talking about, okay, oh, we have some same problems, but we also have some problems, but dressed in a different way. I think that's very helpful. But also some language issues and translation support if you know the language, or if you have assistant, right? But translation is very common now, using the translate. The students will always find ways to, of course, the common language is English when we communicate. And and as a professor, I think it's very important to clarify miscommunication if the students are talking about some things and you actually see some communication. You need to clarify something, because I'm kind of the insider here and also inside in the Chinese culture, the culture. So I know better. So because I'm there constantly responding, so I think that really helps. And also definitely we have to be sensitive about political issues, right? So some topics I know you cannot talk about it, or you try to address this in a different way, right? Otherwise, I feel like students, they will feel, okay, they are not willing to share. So I think it's very important, be sensitive about some political topics. But I think still, right, we agree to disagree, right? It's still important to talk about it. And that's where we can find our commonalities and how we can build from there, realize our stereotypes and misconceptions, and then we can learn from each other and learn with each other. I think that's very important.
Dr. Zhao, I hate to interrupt, but we are supposed to be ending the program at 7, and I just want to be aware of everyone's time.
Okay, yes.
If you don't mind, maybe we can just kind of start wrapping up, and then maybe you can provide your email address for people who have questions after this presentation.
Okay, so actually I'm almost done here. Thank you so much for a reminder. So these are resources. I'd be willing to share this PowerPoint so you can get the resources here directly. So here, the resources, we do have some training here. I mean, the previous here, right? The website provided by Atlanta Global Studies Center. And also, so you can watch the video to learn more about what is virtual exchange, and also some netiquette, right? So when the students are talking, communicating online, what some moral issues or something, right? And these are some great websites. You can find a lot of information about how you can do the virtual exchange, and also how you can find partners and all that, right? So these are great resources here. So this is my email address here, yzhao@gsu.edu. So if you have any questions, and I'd be glad to respond. Okay, sorry, it's past the time. It's just
No, it was a wonderful presentation, and I'm so glad that you were able to share with us and the audience. We really appreciate it, and we really are thankful for all the hard work that you're putting into virtual exchange and training other teachers in this wonderful approach.
Thank you so much for your comments. I hope you enjoy it, and also I'll be glad to share my PowerPoint if you want it later on. You can send me the email here. So I think the resources will be helpful. And also if we have, like in the summertime, if we have some work sessions, so I'd be glad to kind of share more with you. I have a lot of projects and slides. Just more because I've been doing this for quite some time. So I do have some experience and perspectives.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you all, and have a wonderful evening.
Yeah, thank you all for participating to my my sessions at this time. So I hope you enjoy it, and have a good night.